have any deep meaning or like depth. It's just kind of like a basic counter-parable thing. And it's actually more of a beginning to a really, really shitty trip. I was attending a class. It was a PeopleSoft class in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was flying down there after an amazing party. We had like 80 people come in from all over the country and show up at this party, and the idea of flying out after like so many people in town was kind of a letdown. So in any case, you know, the thing about the trip was, I mean, there was so many lined up bad things that happened. You know, compared to the great things. I was given a really, really cool shirt. It was covered with profanity. The problem was they lost my luggage, so I had to wear it for 2 days. When I got to Atlanta, I ended up getting stuck in the middle of the night, like 11 o'clock at night, at the end of a MARTA station, and having trying to find my way to my hotel, which was also kind of a nightmare. I had really bad experience with people on the plane who were generally assholes. But the thing was, the starting of, I thought this was going to be kind of interesting. I had flown out of here, and I guess I should have realized that flying into Midway Airport in Chicago, it was going to be a downswing, because Midway is a dump. And, you know, I get there, and of course, I'm a nerd. I'm a terrible, terrible nerd. And this is like 2001 or something like that. 2000, basically. And, you know, I was carrying my laptop with me, it weighed a ton. And I get up to the stand, and of course, there's people everywhere where my connecting flight was to Atlanta. And I get up there, and, you know, there's 300 people all gathered around. And it's very humid and nasty and hot, and it was just really kind of awful. And basically, I get up to the front, and I find out that my flight had been canceled. And the thing was, the lady who was waiting on me, she actually made it look a good effort, even though there's 300 people around me. She's like, "Oh, I'm not really certain what happened. Oh, it looks like your flight was canceled." And so you know, the thing was, yeah, we knew that. So you know, the interesting thing is okay, I can deal with this. I mean, I was flying for my company, so you know, we had a travel agent, and so we could probably try and figure this out. But the problem was I had a class at 9 o'clock in the morning the next day, so I had to be there, and it was really bizarre because I had another class in Columbus on Wednesday. So this is this really fast down there, take 2 days class, come back and take 2 more classes. So it was kind of a bizarre trip anyway. And so she's like, "Look, your flight's been canceled, but we've got one flight here that's going to Atlanta. So what we'll do is we'll put you on standby, and you know, if a seat opens up, you know, we'll put you on it." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go and sit down, and I call the travel agent. It's like, "Well, we could probably do it on a flight. You'll probably be a little bit late for class." And I had explained this to the lady at the stand, and she was like, you know, late 40s. She was obviously very frazzled. She'd had a lot of people screaming at her the entire time, so she was really not in the greatest of moods. So I sat down on the side. I was sitting there calling people and trying to figure out what to do. And I look up, and there's this businessman. It's kind of like if Rush Limbaugh had walked up. And I'm not a real big fan personally, but you know, this guy had walked up in this suit and all blustery, and he had paid all this money for his first class ticket. He was going to get on this flight. And I sat there and looked at this woman. I was like, she's having the worst fucking day ever. And so I got an idea that I could probably fly out in the morning, but I would have to find a place to stay and all that kind of stuff. And so I walk over to her and "I'm sorry." And I don't know what her name is, so we can call her Doris. So it's "You know, Doris, I'm really sorry that you're having a really bad night. So I tell you what, you know, I think I might be able to get on the flight in the morning. So if you were waiting to try and find something for me, you know, go ahead and give it to somebody else. That's fine. I'll figure my stuff out." And so she looks at me and she's like, "You know, that's probably the nicest thing that anybody has said to me all day." And I was kind of not really self-satisfied, but it's I did something nice for someone. So I go sit down, make my calls, and so forth. And while I'm like having this conversation on the phone and so forth, and she comes over and she's got this, it's basically a receipt, you know, like the receipt paper you get, ripped on the sides. It's got 3B written on it. And she's like, you're on this flight, and you're in first class. Make certain you give them your ID at the door, and have a good class. And so she shuffles me over to the door, she puts me on the flight, and I'm sitting in first class, and I totally got seated before the asshole that was screaming. Yeah, so we took off from Chicago, and I looked down. You know how you look in Chicago, and it's like all these at night. It's like the little crisscross bright lights and everything. It's kind of awesome. And I'm thinking, this is going to be the greatest trip ever. It wasn't, but it was a fantastic beginning.